even if I touch a meal. And do it through the pain, I don't need the pain. And life gon' get me down, but it won't break my will. Cause I've been chasing this so long, I can't give up. I won't give in, been through too much. I done prayed for the money, I done prayed for the fame. I done prayed that I will make a sacrifice and play this game. I done prayed that my life would never be the same. I done prayed that I will make it bring glory to my name.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Uncle Strib. Today we have an exciting topic. Again, we're doing fan-submitted questions or topics. And today's topic is reasons for my career choice. So this is a personal question specifically asking me my reasons for why I'm in the career I'm in. But before I get started on that, first I just want to say, if you're listening or watching this or whatever you're watching or listening to this on, go ahead and subscribe and follow us on Instagram at IV Productions LLC. That's the letter I, letter V, Productions LLC on Instagram to stay up to date on the podcast dropping. Now, anyway, we're getting straight into it. And I think this is pretty straightforward. I actually don't really have much notes. I really just wrote down my 3 careers. So it's going to be a 3-part because I have 3 careers I plan on doing long term. And I'm just going to get into how, basically starting from the beginning, how I got into it and why, how I chose those. Because for 2 of them, I've told this story plenty of times on the podcast with Guard 615. I think I've mentioned it on some of my earlier Uncle Stribs, maybe Ivy Talks. But getting straight into it, we're going to go with career 1, the one I'm pretty much pursuing the most aggressive right now, and that's school. So let me just set the stage. So for those of you that don't know, if you're new watchers or listeners, I am a PhD student at the University of Texas at San Antonio, UTSA, and my end game is to become a professor and teach and conduct research in the field of astrophysics. I specifically study stellar evolution on a broad scale, stellar evolution. Specifically, I study how the dust around stars interact with the whole star as the star evolves. So I look at a lot of chemistry, a lot of cosmochemistry, a lot of nuclear physics as stars evolve. There's a lot of things happening and reacting because it's just the life cycle of a star. They're born, they age, they get old, they die, and it's a cycle. And those stars that die, they produce stuff, or they produce material that can therefore will be used again at some point to create another star or to create planets. Anyway, that's what I'm doing right now. And the end game is to be a professor. How did I end up here? So as a kid, I've always been a science-minded guy, a math guy. I'm all about numbers. I'm all about data. I'm all about data analysis. I've always kind of been like this as a kid. I didn't really like history. I didn't really like English. I didn't really care about grammar. I didn't really care about a lot of things except for numbers and science, because I'm all about facts. Even though a lot of science, you could argue a lot of science, fact is, it can get dicey with facts, but you guys get what I'm trying to say, that there's not too much, depending on the science, but science as a whole, there's not too much gray. We have a pretty good understanding how the body works. We have a pretty good understanding of how the things work on Earth, at least. I don't want to say the universe because there's a lot of unknown, but a lot of technology we have now is based on science, that we know how things work here. That's why we're able to have helicopters, airplanes, smartphones, computers, because we know how things work on a small level, and on a big level, at least here on Earth, we know pretty well. So I've always been science oriented. So I do know when I was a kid, I wanted to be like a firefighter. And then at one point, I wanted to be a police officer. But in high school, I actually took criminal justice because originally I wanted to be a forensic scientist. So I wanted to work at the police department, work in forensics. I don't know what part of forensics, maybe ballistics or something like that. But I wanted to work in forensics at police department and then maybe work my way up into like special operations and things like that. So freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, I took criminal justice 1, 2, and 3. And then I was just gonna basically have like a law degree level background. But I know University of Tennessee has a good forensics program, and I might have paired it with some type of law degree. But senior year, high school, I took a physics class with Coach Finley. He was also the track coach at Independent. Shout out Coach Finley. I took a physics class my senior year of high school, and I loved it. It was great. It was one of those years where, you know, most people senior year, they kind of take easy classes. They don't really challenge themselves. But I decided to challenge myself because I did take PE too, but it's because I literally had a class I had to fill, and I'd already taken the class I wanted. So I was in criminal justice 3. I was in physics. I was in, I think, psychology was senior year, something like that. I took actual classes, and I had one left. So I was like, I'll just take PE too. But anyway, I actually challenged myself by taking those classes. And when we got to the space, the universe, when we got to the astro portion of the physics class, I think that's when I realized that's what I wanted to do. And growing up, I've always been told I was going to be a good teacher. I'm a good teacher. I'd be a good coach because I have a way of explaining things. I have a way of simplifying things because of where I am now, people just assume I was naturally smart. I wasn't. I was that person that didn't really understand. Like, I could understand. Luckily, I had with Coach Finley. He's such a great teacher. He had a way of making it so simple because there's this complex, formal way of explaining something, and then you have the way that's simplified that you could explain to a middle schooler and they could at least understand the concept. And so I was always that guy that needed the things to be dumbed down or simplified for me to understand. So once I learned to where I'm at this high level of education, and I'm the one, I needed it dumbed down for me, I have a good way of simplifying it when I teach it. Because what makes sense to me is just simplify, because it gets complex. But if I just simplify it and I try to relate it to something the average everyday person knows. Kind of like when it comes to like the fitness stuff, I always like to correlate the human body as a car. You know, the food you eat is the gasoline you put in the car. So you can talk about how, yeah, you can have a Ferrari, but if you don't put gas in it, if you don't put premium gas in a Ferrari, you're gonna mess the car up. So if you're trying to treat your body like a Ferrari, you're trying to better yourself physically, treat your body like a Ferrari or a Bugatti or a Lambo, whatever, you gotta put premium gas in the car. So if you're putting junk food or this regular gas in the car's not gonna run well. So I kind of take that same analogy concept with, what I'm learning, and I find a way to just simplify it. And I believe that's what at least that's what I think would, why I think people tell me I'd be a good teacher, because when I was helping my peers in class, I was able to simplify things to help them understand. Now, fast forward. So I get to University of Missouri. That's where I got a scholarship to play football. And so day one on campus, I knew I wanted to be a physics major, because one of the reasons why I decided to go there is because they had a really good physics program. So when I get there, especially most student athletes, so I'm gonna be honest, a lot of guys don't take education seriously. So you have 2 years to decide a major, and then your junior you have to declare. So a lot of guys just take their time, they don't really declare, and then once they get to the summer, they're going into the junior year, before junior year starts, they just look and see what they're the closest at majoring in, and then just go with that. Or they'll just do general studies major and just rock with that. There's nothing wrong with that, but I wanted to take full advantage of the opportunity of getting a free education. So day one, I declared physics major and I got going. Unfortunately, the University of Missouri football program wasn't used to somebody majoring in physics. So what happened is I took all these general education classes in the beginning. When I went to my supervisor on campus, I was a year and a half behind from graduating because I wasn't taking classes that was advancing me to my degree. So for example, I believe my first semester I should have taken Calculus 1, University of Physics 1, my first semester. I didn't take those till my start of my sophomore year, so until my third semester. So I was so far behind, and I couldn't take calculus because I believe you had to take the ALEX exam or something like that. I didn't take it seriously. I kind of BS'd the exam, and I didn't realize how serious it was. So not only could I not take calculus because I didn't pass the exam, I had to start trigonometry. Then I had to go to college algebra. Then I could take, so it pushed me back 2 math classes, and I was already 2 semesters behind. Anyway, it put me in a bad situation, but I ended up catching up because I took summer school. I took classes in the summer, so I took the maths to make up for that. But astro, I was just majoring in general physics. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I know I wanted to be a professor, but having a general physics degree, it's cool and all, but you should have some type of emphasis, especially when you get to grad school. You got to know what you want to do, or you're gonna have to pick a project in a certain field, because there's different. You got thermodynamics, you got quantum mechanics, astrophysics. You got, I mean, was it biophysics? I've taken biophysics. You got all these different branches of physics, and going to my senior year, I sat down with my supervisor, and I was one class away from having emphasis in astronomy. And so what I did is, instead of taking a class, I went to, because she said you could take a class or you can do research for credit. And because she asked me, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be a professor. She said, well, you need to have some research under your belt, like you could put on your resume, or your CV is what it's called. It's a fancy resume, but it's strictly your academics instead of like jobs. But to put in your CV, having research experience is going to help. So I was okay. So I literally just emailed a handful of professors and asking if they had spots to take on a graduate or undergrad for research. And Dr. Angela Speck, who I'm with now, but Dr. Speck said, yeah, I'll take on a undergrad. So we got together and we met, and it went well. So I was like, okay, I'll do this. So that semester I did research, and then this is the last semester at Mizzou. So football season ended. That spring I was that December I graduated, and what I did is I applied for grad school at Mizzou and a few other schools. I got accepted into Mizzou right away, so I decided, you know what, I'll just stay here. So I actually kept Dr. Speck as my supervisor going into grad school, and bam, that's how I ended up in Astro. And I've pretty much been working with Dr. Speck. She got a position here at UTSA, so I moved with her, and that's how I am. That's how I'm here where I'm at now. And I've pretty much been doing basically the same thing. I did go from a project, it was all dust-based. But I went from looking at certain stars, and now I'm looking at something else. I don't want to get too in-depth into what it is because it gets complicated. But yeah, that's how I got to where I am now. And then I should be graduating December of 2024. So a little over a year from now, a year and a few months, my PhD, and I will be applying for professorships at different universities, and we'll see how that goes. But that's how I ended up where I'm at for my schooling or astrophysics career. Okay, now I have two more, because I mentioned I have 3 careers I expect to do long term. Personal training. So I feel like that's more obvious, but a lot of people that know me know that I am big into the fitness realm, the personal training realm. I'm a certified personal trainer, certified in workout design, and certified in strength and conditioning. I also have my own fitness app, and I have recently launched a supplement brand where I'm just trying to help people achieve their goals. But let's backtrack to how I got into that. Obviously, I've been playing sports since I was a little kid, but because you can play sports and not really be into fitness. I know a lot of guys that played football and they didn't care for the training, they just wanted to play football. With me, I would say the opposite. I did want to play football and competitive, but I loved the training just as much as I did the actual sport. The weight room, the working out in the gym was just as fun to me as playing on Friday, high school, on Saturday for college. It was just as important. It was just as fun to me doing both. So what it all started, elementary school. I've told this story before, but in elementary school, I'm a natural ectomorph. For those of y'all that don't know, there's endomorph, mesomorph, ectomorph. Those are 3 different body types. Ectomorphs are people that are naturally skinny. So if you don't work out or do anything, you're naturally just skinny. Generally, people with higher metabolisms, it's hard to gain weight. It's hard. Those people that they just eat whatever they want and they just don't gain weight. That's how I was as a kid. I was naturally skinny because I played sports from elementary school all the way up. I wasn't just skinny. Like I was toned. I was lean, but I was skinny. So I haven't always been as thick as I seem now. You know, a lot of people, it's funny because people say, look at me how I'm built now and say, oh, you're genetically gifted, yada yada. It's like, not really. If you saw me when I was young, I wasn't big at all. I was fast and skinny and just, that's about it, fast and skinny. So, you know, I had to work for all this. But anyway, in elementary school, this is where it like turned for me because I was being bullied in elementary school. There's this after school, because both my parents work, so there's this after school program called, I believe it's called Fun Company back then. I forget what it's called now. I think it's called SAC or something like that, something weird. But after school would be over, you know, there's be these people that would, you know, watch these kids and they let us play out in the playground, or we go to the gym, or you know, we play Legos in the cafeteria or whatever, until our parents got off work, they pick us up. And I had a bully at Fun Company. He was 2 grades above me, 1 or 2 grades above me, I forget. I'm not gonna say his name, obviously. I'm not gonna mention any names. And he probably doesn't even remember this. But he would just pick on me. He would just take stuff from, like, literally your textbook, like, TV show bully. You know, I'd just be minding my own business. He'd come by and just, like, pull the chair out from under me. Or if I'm playing with the Legos and I'm building something, he'll come and just kick it and smash the Legos. Like, just random. Like, I ain't said nothing to him. I wouldn't do nothing to him. And so, you know, eventually you get fed up with, you know, every time I go to Fun Company, I'm just avoiding him. If he's at the gym, I'm in the cafeteria. He comes to the cafeteria, I'm going to go out to the playground. If he goes, like, I'm avoiding him, and I can't really enjoy hanging out with my friends because if I see him, oh, I got to go somewhere else because I know once he sees me, he's going to pick on me. He's trying to take money. I didn't have lunch money on me physically, but anytime I had like change or whatever, he would just take it from me. I couldn't do anything because he was bigger. He was naturally an endomorph, so like he was kind of chunky, but he was taller, you know, greater head. He was taller, he was heavier, he was just naturally stronger. I couldn't do anything. Like if I tried to push him, it'd be like those cartoons where I try to push him and like my feet are like in the same spot trying to push him. He's just standing there not moving. That's how much he probably outweighed me by, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 pounds in elementary school, which is a huge difference. And so I remember the one day I had enough, he threw me in a trash can. And I just had enough. And so I remember, I think I had a break. There was some type of break where I didn't see him for a while. And I remember watching a commercial or something about, you know, these people working out. It might have been Bowflex or whatever, something back in the day. I remember watching a commercial and they were talking about how stay in shape, or if you work out, you get stronger. And I think it was a commercial for some type of home equipment. I was watching, I was like, man, I wonder if I could get strong enough to fight back. So I remember it's just funny, I used to watch TV like SpongeBob, and during commercials, I would do push-ups the whole commercial break. Then the show would come back on, I'd stop. The next commercial, I would do sit-ups the whole break. The show would come back on, next commercial, I would do just squats, just body weight, just squats the whole break. And I would do that for hours, because, you know, I'm watching TV, so, you know, a commercial comes on every, 15 minutes or something back then, I don't know. But I would just do that for hours because I would have these long breaks in between, and I would just do that every day while I'm watching TV. I remember my mom told me this story about how, like, when it all started, because I was doing that. She didn't know at the time, but I was doing that because I'm trying to get strong enough to fight back and defend myself. So fast forward a year, that next year, still at Fun Company, this guy comes in, and I'm kind of ready for him. Like, I'm not avoiding him no more because I've gotten a little bigger. I've gotten stronger. I can, you know, I'm starting to do things. I can pump out 50 push-ups without stopping. And we're talking like 3rd, 4th grade. That's when I got lean and shredded. I had abs as a little kid. And so he comes up. I'm sorry, this is a super long story, but you know, it's a podcast. It's great storytelling. But he comes up and he tries to throw me in the trash can. But I fought back and I was strong, and I realized at this point I was stronger than him because he doesn't work out, he's just bigger. But I realized I was stronger than him because you have to pick me up, and I went to push him. He actually moved. Remember, when I tried to push him earlier, he was like a wall. I pushed him, I didn't even try to push him hard, and I moved him. So I was like, okay, this is like, it was almost like I trained my whole life for this one moment. It was that kind of thing, but then he tries to pick me up and put me, because he was still tall, he tried to pick me up, put me in the trash can, but I like fought out of it, I got out of it, and so he got mad because I was fighting back. He wasn't used to me fighting back for 2 years. Now I'm fighting back. He got mad because he couldn't just do whatever. And I remember he throws a chair, like just like a little, not a big chair, but it was metal, but it was like one of those little chairs for kids. He threw it, and luckily he missed, and I dodged it. And so he comes up, he kicks me. I grab his leg. I didn't know what to do, but I caught his leg because he goes to kick, and I caught it. And so I didn't know what to do, so I just lifted his leg up, and he fell over, and he lifted his leg, he fell, and then once he's on the ground, I think I kicked him. I did something. I don't remember if I kicked him or if I threw something at him, but I made contact with him with something. I don't remember if I threw something and it hit his face, or I think I just kicked him on his side. But I started trash talking him, like, I'm about it. Like, I wasn't like, not adult level trash talking. I was second, but basically I told him, like, yo, like, I'm fighting back. I'm tired. You're not gonna do this to me anymore. Yada, yada, yada. He starts crying, and then he ended up snitching, and he went to like one of the supervisors or whatever and told him what I did, and then I think they kind of knew he was picking on me, so like I didn't really get in trouble, which I'm like, bro, why y'all let me get bullied? I didn't really get in trouble because they didn't tell my parents or nothing, but I think they knew he was like a problem because I don't know if he just picked on me or not, but they knew he was a problem, so I think they kind of just like, they gave me like a little slap on the wrist, like, okay, don't fight people, and then that was it, and I was like, okay, bet. But ever since then, he never bullied me again. I'd see him around, and he wouldn't even talk to me. He wouldn't come near me. I was like, okay, bet. But it was at that point I was like, if I train and work out, I can at least stay strong enough to defend myself. That's where it started. Now it's become, it's a different level of, being in physical fit, being in physical shape. Now I know the science behind it of how, longevity, your skeletal system is the key to living a longer, higher quality of life. I don't want to be 70 and can barely walk. I want to have the bone structure to be 80 years old and still working out, still running, still being able to squat and do these things and have the mobility because I have the skeletal structure and the dexterity for it. Now I know the science, obviously it's geared more towards, not necessarily I still want to be able to defend myself, but now it's geared more towards just overall health and wellness down the road from when I get older. Because now, the way I train now, I'm prepping my body for when I get older. I'm still able to do a lot of things. There's a whole lot of science behind it, but I don't want to get to that. But in college, once I got to college, I got the resources. I have, college, I had the greatest nutritionists, the greatest strength coaches, and all those things around me. Now I have the resources. I'm picking their brains. I'm going in there. I'm asking about nutrition. Why this does that? Why do you need 20 grams of protein per meal? What is protein synthesis? What is macros? How do you calculate macros? If you're trying to be a caloric deficit, caloric surplus, things like that. I'm picking their brains. And then one summer, I realized I'm taking this information, I'm learning, and I'm telling my teammates. I'm picking the brains from the nutritionists and the strength coaches about how this works, why this works, different movements, compound movements versus isolatory movements, or some people call them accessory work. The difference between those and the benefits, the pros and cons and things like that. Eccentric, concentric. I'm learning all of this, and then I'm going to my teammates and be like, hey man, if you work on this, I think you could get better coming out your break because you got your calves. Maybe your calves aren't even earned. If I notice that they got a problem with their shoulder, hey, if you do this movement, it'll increase your mobility. That might help with your shoulder. Or, coming in out of breaks, you should work some hip stuff. I was breaking it down for them because I'm learning from them. And that's when I was like, man, I think I could really get into personal training and coaching and stuff like that in terms of fitness, because I'm taking this and I'm giving game to my teammates. I'm also giving game to just my friends that weren't student athletes, because, people are like, man, I've gained 20 pounds. I'm just having a hard time losing weight. Okay, well, what are you doing? Are you counting your macros? You know how much water you're drinking? Do you know how much carbs and fat you're drinking? Do you know how many calories you're intaking? How many days a week you're working out? What are you doing? I'm breaking it down because there has to be a system to some of the stuff. You can't just, being active 30 minutes a day is better than nothing. But if you're really trying to get results in an efficient way, you gotta systematically attack your fitness. Anyway, so one summer I was like, you know what, I want to get my certification. So I had them around here somewhere. They're in my closet. But got my certification in personal training, workout design, strength conditioning, and then through taking those courses, I also learned more. Most of the stuff I already knew just from picking the brains of my strength coaches and nutritionists. But I got my certifications, and I was I was training my teammates when we do extracurricular lifting. You know, I was picking specific stuff, and guys were working out with me. And then once I got done with football, I was kind of doing like freelance training. When I go home, I'd have people like, hey, I'm in town if you want to train. Pull up at Independence, that's the high school I went to. Pull up to Indy, I'm doing a workout, I'm doing conditioning. People come pull up and we would do things, or I'd go to the gym, just, hey, meet me here, hoop session, we do hooping, or we would do stuff in the gym. So I was kind of freelance training. And then when I got to San Antonio, I started working at a gym, and then COVID became a problem. And so I got a app developed, IV Fitness training, or IV Fitness. It's available on iOS or Android. But now you can download it. So now I have a way to coach virtually where I'll do your macros, I'll give you a workout plan, your hydration plan, supplement suggestions, and things like that. And I can really be kind of in your pocket, and it comes with coaching for that. But real quick, because now it's time for a plug segment, just so I don't have to edit this in. But just to let you guys know, this podcast is brought to you, and this podcast sponsored and brought to you by Final Form Supplements. Final Form Supplement brand is what I mentioned earlier, a supplement brand that I just started. It is officially sponsoring IV Talks podcast. That includes Uncle Strib and Garza 615. The easiest way to find out more information or to get on our website is to follow my personal Instagram, FLS4 swag with 2 G's on Instagram, and the link is in the bio under Final Form Supplements. You'll see it there. We have supplements ranging from just general health, multivitamins, all the way to, you know, protein powder, creatine, BCAAs. Go ahead and get on those. Again, if you use promo code COACHSTRIB, that's capital C, capital OACHSTRIB, COACHSTRIB, all caps, no space, you'll get 10% off your order. Final Form Supplements, achieve your final form. Now, and so that's where I'm basically at now in terms of the personal fitness. So right now I'm training a few clients. I have the supplement brand. We are live. We are going, and our premier product is the multivitamin gummies. Because whether you're a couch potato or you're a gym rat, everybody needs multivitamins. Because our dieting, we're not perfect. Some things we miss out on. So you can take a multivitamin to kind of cover your bases on things that you don't get, and just, you know, overall general health. But we do have more stuff. Go ahead and y'all go to that website with the link in the bio at my Instagram, FLS4, the number 4, swag with 2 G's. Okay, now moving on to the last career. Obviously, you guys watching or listening to the podcast, Uncle Strib. This is episode 49, I believe. I'm trying to get back into doing more Uncle Stribs, but Garza 615, we just posted. We just had our 3-year anniversary last Friday, August 4th, was 3 years of Garza 615. So we've gone 3 years, and the anniversary for the overall podcast, Uncle Strib, was August 2nd. So, you know, I started this as a way to just keep in touch with my close friends, my boy Calvin. It started off just me and Calvin, way to just keep in touch. Then we added Mitch, and then we added Mark. But this is the second career, is my IV Productions, my production company. Because I've always found it fascinating creating content for people to watch. Right now, I probably watch more YouTube than I do actual TV. And my YouTube, I watch literally just podcasts. It's Flagrant with Andrew Schultz, Brilliant Idiots, Andrew Schultz, Charlemagne, Pivot Podcast with RC, Freddie Taylor, and Channing Crowder. And I'm also watching Fighter and the Kid, Brendan Schaub, and Brian Callen. But I'm watching those weekly. So those really shows I watch, I tune in to YouTube. I'm also watching First We Feast, Hot Ones. I watch that every day at break at Shoe Palace. But anyway, I just realized that, and this is a more recent career that I decided I want to do long term. Even if once I become a professor, and then with the fitness stuff, I want to own my own gym and have those things going on. But I also do want to create content. The content I create is obviously the podcast. I plan on doing the Uncle Strib as long as I'm able to talk. Garden 615, I hope we're 80 years old doing episode 2000, just talking about, you know, all kinds of things. If you guys have listened to it, we talk mostly sports, but we talk about just any and everything. I'm hoping, you know, we can do that for years to come, decades to come. So I always want to be in a podcasting level of content, but I also run a handful of YouTubes. I have the shoe game YouTube, where I have a pretty nice expansive shoe collection, and I do reviews on shoes. So I have that. I have my gaming. I love gaming. I just bought a PS5 not that long ago, and I play a lot of Call of Duty. But I have a gaming YouTube channel. I have the shoe game YouTube channel. My fitness page. We have a YouTube channel where I'll either do the program I'm doing right now, or right this year, as of 2023, I do a physical fitness challenge once a month. So one month I did a 15-mile run, and the key is I don't train for them, or some of them I'm not training for. I did a 15-mile run. I sat in the car in the heat of the summer. It was like 110. I sat in the car for an hour. I did 1,000 squats. I did a pull-up challenge, curl challenge, yada yada yada. So I got that dropping. I have an Uncle Strib, or I have a Professor Strib. I have an Uncle Strib's Adventures. Anytime I travel or do something cool or fun, it's more of like a vlog of me just doing stuff. I went and got a tattoo of my friends. Every time I go home to Nashville or Calvin visits, I went to Memphis. Me and Calvin, we go on 2 trips a year to an NBA game. I make sure I get that. That's so much fun. The last one we had was Portland, and I believe we're doing Dallas or Houston in November. So I got that. It's super fun. And there's the Professor Strib. I've been slacking on Professor Strib, but I'm trying to set it up to where right now I'm building a course online where I'm doing my first course. Gonna be Stellar Evolution. It's gonna be a playlist where you click on that playlist. It's gonna be videos in order of watching those videos, where you'll get like an intro level. It's like an intro level class into Stellar Evolution, and it's gonna go into a little bit of what I do, and then just what it is on the broader scale, to where I have that, and that's more like my professional YouTube channel, where I'm posting like and anytime I do talks or virtual talks, I've done some talks where I sent the video, I'll just post it on YouTube, things like that. So I have all of that, and then I also have the 2 podcasts, Uncle Strib, Garden 615. I have a Discord. The Discord's also in the link on the IB Productions LLC if you guys want to be a part of that. It just gives you, it's just a way to stay in touch with. Anytime I drop something, automatically alerts you. So YouTube, gaming, all that stuff. Trying to think, I'm pretty sure that's it. But I just love creating content. I did a venue for Zach. He owns the gym that I work at, and he had a venue where all these people came out, and it was local business, supporting local business, and I did a video where everybody kind of introduced themselves, give them a chance to promote their stuff. I threw it on the YouTube. And I just like art. To me, that's art. It's film. And what I like about it is it doesn't take a lot of production. I bought an iPad. Well, my mom bought me an iPad for school. And now, since I use it for school, I also use it for YouTube. I'm really recording on my iPad. If you guys watch my Uncle Stribs, the in-person ones, they're on my iPad now. Some of the old ones are rough because I had an external webcam for my laptop, so the quality was rough. But the Zooms I'm doing now, if you guys notice, they're on my iPad. All you really need, at least for my experience, all you really need is an iPad. The audio's fine. I don't have any like mic or anything. It's just the audio from the iPad. These Apple products nowadays are getting crazy. Some stuff I do just on my phone when I do a lot of the content creation. Is just a lot either on my phone or my iPad. I bought a tripod for the iPad. That's all I've really needed. I do everything. I edit on the iPad through iMovies. I upload to YouTube through my iPad. I upload through the Spotify for podcasters. That's how you upload the podcast. I do all that through iPad. I don't have to like get an extra laptop. I don't need extra equipment. So it's a low level production because the majority of this is a one-man show. Majority of it, like 90%. The other 10%, shout out to the Guardian 615, Mitch, Mark, and Calvin, because they do give me ideas, or I'll go to them when I have ideas for the other stuff, and they'll give me input. So it's not a 100% one-man show, but in terms of the editing and all of that, it's usually just me. So having low-level production helps me out because I don't have the time to sit there and do like these high-level productions. I know on YouTube you're supposed to have these creative thumbnails and yada yada. I don't have time for that. I literally just let it. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Whenever you post a video, it gives you 3 options of thumbnails that it kind of predetermines what's a good thumbnail. I just go one of those. I just pick the best one, or I'll just let it, whichever one it picks, if it looks good enough, I'll just rock with that. I know you're not supposed to, but I don't have time for that, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm putting in anywhere between 70 to 85 hours a week. So the low level production is great. And I don't know, I just love the camaraderie. It's really the podcast, the talking to my boys every week, catching up, staying in touch. Even if we don't talk on the phone, I know I'm gonna see them. Right now we're recording Sundays. I know I'm gonna see them Sunday and we can catch up. Calvin just went to Rolling Loud, and then when he got back, when the pod was like, yo, how was it? We talking. We're planning trips through the podcast. So when I go home for Nashville, we try to do an in-person podcast with all of us, except, Mitch is in Cali right now, but with me, Mark, and Calvin. So it's just fun. I'm doing it because it's fun. If it never blows up to where I want to obviously monetize it would be cool, but if it never gets monetized, I'm not going to stop doing it because I'm doing it because it's fun and it's a way to keep in touch with my friends, and it's also a way for other people. We do have a decent listening, a decent following, and the YouTube is actually growing. The Spotify's growing. We're dishing out consistent content, but I do love that it's a way for people that we might have been friends in elementary school, middle school, high school, but they have a way of kind of keeping in touch with me, what's going on. I do the fancy-made questions. People are able to submit things, so I try to be as interactive as I can, for sure, and it's just been fun. So for that one, it's also got more recent, because I didn't start this till COVID. I guess I'll tell you the quick story of how I started. It's because I'm very opinionated, I'm very passionate when I talk. Sometimes it comes off as aggressive, but I'm just a very passionate talker. We could be talking about why I think the Hulk is the strongest character ever created in superhero realm, and I talk about, because as you guys notice, I'm big into comic books, Marvel and DC. I love them both. But my favorite character of all time is the Incredible Hulk, because if you read his comics, just go literally, I challenge you, Google his greatest feats. If you look at his greatest feats, he's the most indestructible, most insane character I think has ever been thought of. And it's unfortunate because he's really too strong for movies. So if you watch the Endgame and Avengers, we call it nerf. Is when you make him weaker or you kind of tone down his strength, because you have to nerf him for movies. Because if you have him at peak Hulk, there is no movie. He's just fading everything in the way. There's really no movie. There's no conflict, because he'd be able to easily defeat his opponents. So you have to nerf him so you can create a storyline where he gets beaten here and he comes back, yada yada yada. But if it's something like that, I even just talking about that, I'll get super passionate and aggressive. But because I was home, this was during COVID. I went home, and me and my dad were talking sports. We were talking sports. We were talking investing. 'Cause me and my dad are big into like investing and watching the market. And it wasn't an argument, but like we was just talking, like passionate. My mom said, have you ever thought about starting a podcast? I think you'd have a really good podcast on your sport takes. I'm very analytical with sports. And I try to look more than just the surface. I try to dig deep. And I'm very analytical with everything I do. When I do a lot of things, there's a cost-benefit analysis going to it. And I look at data and I try to interpret what is the data telling me and how can I use this data to make a decision. And my mom said, I think you should start looking to like maybe starting a podcast, because you got a lot of opinions and you're very well spoken and you're a great storyteller, you're very passionate, and you make great points for things. And it's just entertaining to watch. Me and my dad argue, it's entertaining. It's entertainment. And so I was like, you know what? You're right. So I thought about it. When I came back to San Antonio, I really Googled how to make a podcast. And I found Anchor, which is now Spotify for podcasters. And literally you can record on your phone, or it's literally through the app, you send a link to your friends on their phone. They'll get the link and it'll join them in. It's like a phone call. It's like a 3 or 4-way phone call. It automatically records it, and you can upload it straight to Anchor. And Anchor is made by Spotify. So Anchor automatically distributes it to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. It distributes it to like 7 or 8 major the top 7 or 8 major podcast platforms. So I was like, oh wow, that's it. And it's free, it doesn't cost any money. So I was like, oh, bet. So that's why I reached out to Calvin. Hey, I'm trying to do a podcast. What do you think? Yada, yada. That's literally how I got it going like a week. So when I decide I'm going to do something, it doesn't take me long to get things started, at least figure out how to do it. And that's what happened with the supplement stuff. Honestly, this was like a couple weeks ago. I was talking to Zach. He was like, hey, if you got any merch or any supplements that you like that you want to sell, we can sell. Because at first I was going to buy a supplement brand that I was currently using, or that I'm currently using right now. Because once I get through it, I'm going to use it. Once I get done with it, I'm using all of my stuff. But I'm not gonna throw away. I got a good thing of creatine. I'm not gonna throw it away. But anyway, once I get through with that, I got my stuff coming in as we speak. But he was like, if you got any, because what I was gonna do is buy that brand, and we were just gonna sell it at like a $2-3 higher than when I bought it, just to make some money, you know. And it'd be like, you know, $2-3, and it actually would, yeah, it'd be $2-3, you know, and it would be cheaper than them buying it the way I bought it, because they're not paying for shipping. But anyway, and then that's what we're gonna do that. But then I was like, man, because I thought about starting my own supplement brand a while ago, but I didn't see anything I liked. Because there's these like contracts, you got to buy a minimum of 500 orders or 1,000 orders, and I don't have the upfront money for that. Then I found this one manufacturer where there's no contract minimums. I was like, okay, bet. So I looked into it, yada yada. Literally, I stayed up till 1 o'clock that night, and I got up early that next morning and spent a few hours on it. And then after that next day, bam, I was live. So, you know, I'm very fast when it comes to things that I just want to pull the trigger on. I pull the trigger. But those are the three things, my, you know, choices. Sorry, I kind of went in depth, but I wanted to really just open up and tell you how a lot of this stuff goes down. One thing I do want to mention is another career that I want to get into long term, but I haven't found a way to really get into it, is financial, not consulting, but just a financial literacy background. For those of you that don't know me, I've been investing since 2014, 2015. I have a portfolio of ETFs, stocks. I also have a podcast with ETFs and investing. For my YouTube, I might put a link in the description if I remember. But if not, you can literally just go to the playlist, the Uncle Strib playlist, because it's under Uncle Strib. And it's in the 40s, so it's not that many episodes ago. I think 46 and 42. I don't remember. Anyway. I've been investing for a while, and I love it. I just want to educate how finances is not hard. Creating wealth for yourself or creating some type of financial stability for yourself in the future is not hard. It's actually very easy. It's just there's a lot of BS to sort through. I'll say that. But once you get to the foundation and basis of it, and you can get somebody that can simplify it for you, it's really not hard. I started with $5. That's it. I had no money. I was like, you know what? Every month I'm gonna just put $5. I was putting $5 in a month, not a week. I was putting $5 in a month. That's what I started with, and now my portfolio has grown. It's looking good, and I have a portfolio for Robinhood is what I use for my. I have one company I invest in. It's Ford. Ford Motors has been an absolute staple for me right now. And then I have like 3 or 4 ETFs, which are exchange trade funds. Check out the ETF video and it explains what that is. But basically, it's a diverse portfolio of stocks in an ETF. So it's not just one company. You're investing in a basket of companies. So it's very diverse, and it's a lot safer than investing in one company. But I have that. And then I also have a real estate portfolio that I've been investing in as well that has grown substantial. So I want to find a way to get a career in that somehow, but I don't want to go through getting the license, getting the certifications and stuff to be I don't want to be a financial advisor. It's not the goal. I just want to set up a platform or way I can educate people about finances, like what financials are, how the stock works, how ETFs work, how real estate portfolios work, how crowdfunding works, things like that. I just want to educate. Like, it doesn't even have to have a paywall behind it, but I got to make sure I do it right legally, because I don't want to be educating people and I don't have any of these certifications and, you know, lawsuits yet. That might take me a little bit, because I got to make sure I cover my tracks. I'm not making money from it, so I think I'm fine. And as long as I give the disclaimer that I'm not a certified financial advisor or consultant, and that these are just my opinions and my opinions and what's worked for me, I think that should cover me, because I'm not charging anybody for it, but it's really just free game. But I want to get into that, especially in the African American community. A lot of people don't know what a Roth IRA is or a 401k. A lot of people don't understand the effects of compound interest and things that are vitally important to creating generational wealth, not only for you but for your family. Like, people don't know what a beneficiary is. Like, when you have a portfolio, unless you have an investment portfolio, your savings account or something, and it gets up to $1 million when you die or something happens to you, that money needs to go somewhere. And if you have a beneficiary, that the money goes to who you want it to go to. Otherwise, I'm honestly, I think the government decides where it goes to, and then you can have these like custody wars over the account, and sometimes the government just takes it. And I mean, if you have a wife that surpasses you, they got to fight for it versus your, mom or whoever. It becomes, things like that. I want to educate on becoming financially stable, creating financial freedom, and for those that want, educating them on generational wealth. Like, you spend the interest, not the principal. People don't understand. If you got $1 million in the bank and you're getting a 6% return on your investment, that means every year you're getting, let's say on average you get 6% return. That means every year that million is giving you, that million, you're getting a $60,000 check on that million every year. If you have $1 million in the bank, and let's just say you're averaging 6% a year. Average, we're 6%. 6% of 1 million is 60K. That means with you not doing a thing, it's just the money sitting in the investment. You're not doing a thing, and you're getting a check for 60K. Now the check gets divided up because sometimes it's quarterly, depends on how whatever your investment is, how it pays. If it pays at the end of the year, it's a 60K check at once. If it's quarterly, it's 60K, 60 divided by 60K broken up to 4 payments. If it's monthly, it's broken up into 12 payments. But y'all get what I'm saying. You get a 60K check not doing a thing. That's how you create generational wealth. You take that 60K, you might keep 40K to do something with and put 20 back in it. So the next year, it's not just a mil that you get 6% on, you're getting a 6% on a mil and 20K. Or let's say you made a lot of money, you saved up and you put 10K, you get that 1 mil or that 1 mil up to 10 mil. Well, 6% of 10 mil is what? 600,000. You see what I'm saying? So I believe I did that right. I believe I did that math right. But it starts to compound, and now you're starting to really rack it up with 600K with 10 mil, and you're making 6%. If you lose your job, I'm sure you can find a way to live off of 600K a year. You might have to sell something. If your lifestyle, if your standard of living is high, you might have to sell your house and sell a few cars, but you can find a lifestyle to live at for 600K. Like your standard of living is going to drop, but you're not going to be down and out. You'll still make 600K a year. But that's the things I want to put people on game on. But I believe this podcast has been long enough. I try to keep them 30 to 45 minutes. I don't know where we're at right now, 47. But again, I appreciate you guys. Oh, this has been a great one. I didn't really make notes for these because it was a pretty easy, straightforward thing. I've told these stories before. I was kind of all over the place. But anyway, I hope you guys learned something, could take away from something. Again, if you want to submit questions or topics, go to IV Productions LLC on Instagram. And remember, Final Form Supplements. Achieve your final form and go to FLS, the number 4, swag with 2 G's, and click the link in the bio to check out those subs. Stay fit.
I'm gonna chase my dreams.